Are Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers in a national championship or bust season, where they have to win it all, or they at least have to reach the national championship game, make a playoff run, win a bunch of games, preferably if you're going to be a national championship contender, you enter the playoffs with 2 losses at the very worst, undefeated at the best. With Clemson's schedule, it's probably enter the playoff 11-1, 12-0, 13-0, 12-1, 11-2, factoring in the championship game. And from there, you make a playoff run. You at least reach the semifinals, more preferably the national championship game, and win it all or compete for a title. Are they in that type of year where anything less than what I mentioned, so really anything less than 13 or 14 wins, is a failure? Let me know in the comments section below, and please subscribe and like the video. It helps out this channel a lot. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, and liking the video gets us in the algorithm. And if you're a Clemson fan especially, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm covering the ACC more than I ever have before, and I'm pretty high on your team and your program. And I think that Dabo Swinney's take on the transfer portal and on NIL and these changes has actually aged more gracefully than I initially anticipated it to. But that's a topic for another day. I want to talk about here for a few minutes whether or not it's a national title or bust season. So Clemson went 10-4 last year, 7-1 in ACC play. They won the ACC championship. They did. And they played Texas more competitively than many expected in the first round on the road. Their preseason win total is 9.5. Their preseason S&P Plus is a 23.3, which means they're viewed as 23.3 points better than the average college football team per Bill Connolly. They're 8th there, and they return 80% of their production, which is first. They bring back players who I think are all Americans. I'll actually give you my All-American teams, which I'll make a video on sometime in July. Cade Klubnik, I have as the best overall quarterback in America. First team All-American. I have Ryan Linthicum as a 6th team All-American center, honorable mention. I have Blake Miller as a 4th team All-American tackle. I have TJ Moore as a 1st team All-American wide receiver, and Bryant Wesco and Antonio Williams are 2nd team All-American wide receivers. My All-American teams are huge. I have 6 of them as well, and I have more players per team than most do, but still, it's a high honor. These are still some of the best players in America. I have Peter Woods as the best overall D tackle, 1st team All-American. DeMonte Capehart is a 5th team All-American, honorable mention. TJ Parker is a 1st team edge. Will Health is a 6th teamer. I have Sammy Brown as a 5th teamer, honorable mention. And I also have Avion Terrell and Ashton Hampton at corner as All-Americans. Terrell on the 2nd team, Hampton on the honorable mention 5th team. In total, I tab 13 All-Americans. I have Garrett Riley as a top 5 offensive coordinator. Swinney all-time is a top, I would say, 15 or 10 head coach all-time. And then looking at his resume stacked against other coaches, he's at least a top 3 head coach. Currently, I got to be honest here, I would not rank him in the here and now for coaches in terms of their resume over the past 4 years, how they've performed relative to the talent they've had, their expectations, their conference, and whether or not I'd hire them now. I would not have Swinney top 10. But I still think he's a good coach, a great coach, and I think that Tom Allen is a defensive coordinator who's much, much better than Wes Goodwin. And when you return 4/5 of your production, use the portal lightly, you barely lose everyone, and you have players who are young and they haven't played a bunch or at all. They have a year of development from a top 10 staff in America, and they're ready to play and contribute. This team is deep. This team has a ton of NFL players. And last season, they were fraudulent at points against Georgia, against Louisville. That South Carolina game they should have won. They had no business losing that game. And yet, because Lenora Sellers was amazing, Clemson got conservative. And because the offense and defense they had, there's just inconsistencies. They did, yes, lose. But all that being said, I do think this is a national title or bust season. I really do. Let's look at the schedule before we end this segment here. So Clemson, they start off against LSU at home. That should be a blowout win. They play Troy in week 2, should be even more of a blowout win. Georgia Tech on the road week 3, could be a loss. It's, I think, one of the few games that would be an acceptable loss, but it should be a win. Syracuse at home week 4 should be a dominant win. They get a bye week 5, and off that bye, they travel to North Carolina. That should be a win. Same with the road game against Boston College week 7. SMU at home week 8. That should be a win. Could be competitive because I think SMU's good, but it should be a win. Bye week 9. Duke at home week 10 should be a dominant win. Same with Florida State in week 11 at home in Death Valley. At Louisville will be tough. I think Louisville has matchup edges against Clemson they showed last year that remain this year. Should be a win in week 12. Furman week 13, obvious win. And South Carolina on the road should be a win with how much South Carolina loses and how much Clemson brings back. There is a path, and I think a very realistic and easy path to go 12-0. And whether they play Louisville, SMU, Miami, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, or someone else in the ACC championship game, I think Clemson's the best team in the ACC, so they should win that. I think the only team in the ACC who's close to them talent-wise is Miami, and they're better coached, they have a better staff, they're more experienced. I just think that Clemson's the best overall team in the ACC, and they're kind of in their own tier, or at least a half tier above the teams that are the closest to them. So 11-1, 12-0 is what the regular season should bear. Looking at the ACC championship game, you're going to be playing, I think, a top 10 team or top 15 team there. So that can be a bit of a coin flip. Again, entering the playoffs, you have to be 11-2, 12-0, 11-1. You could do the Ohio State path of last year where they're 10-2 and get in. But then Clemson would have to probably go on the road because they're in the ACC to... Or maybe they'd get a home game, I don't know. But you don't want to really risk that. Getting the bye, if possible, or guaranteeing yourself a home game would be advantageous. And this is a team who will get hot, should get hot in the playoffs. They're experienced. Swinney's been to the playoffs multiple times, so he knows what it's like. These players were in the playoffs last year in a road environment, so they should know what it's like. And with the amount of NFL talent, college All-American talent, the staff upgrades they've made, this is a title or bust year, especially since Clemson has not been recruiting and developing at the level they need to be a title contender every year. After this year, they're going to lose a ton of their production, and they're probably going to have a 2023 caliber year, or a 2021-2022 caliber year, where you lose 3 games, and in a different universe, you lose even more. I think, at least. So they have, I cannot stress this enough, they have to compete for a national title. And I would say that means at least reaching the title game for Clemson. That's what that means, if not winning it all. And I think anything less than that is not necessarily a failure. I think a failure would be not advancing past the quarterfinals. Definitely not advancing past the first round. But for the season to be a success and not just maybe a little bit of a disappointment or just, meh, it was good, we were a good team, but we didn't achieve what we wanted to. For the season to be a success, I think they have to at least reach the semifinals and play a very competitive game, show that they can be a top dog. And I think more preferably for the season to be a resounding success, they have to play in the national championship game, if not win the national championship. So that's my assessment. This is a national championship or bust season at Clemson because they're losing a ton of talent after this year. They have the most experienced roster in the country, one of the deepest. Their talent roster is still close to the Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Oregons of the world. And they haven't recruited at the level they need to where after this year they can't just reload. This is a do or die season for Dabo Swinney and Clemson football. Thank you so much for tuning into this segment. Make sure again to subscribe, hit the bell, like the video, and comment below. I'll see you all in the next one.